Report. 100%. Chapter 146. Eastern Emperor Evil. King Guangnan quickly wanted to dodge to the side, but the big tree he was shrinking in immediately began to wither, and finally the leaves kept falling, and after a gust of wind blew past, the big tree was directly turned into flying ash with the wind and lost. Suzy was startled at this moment, and he saw a huge monster about 3 meters coming out. This person was no longer half human, half beast, but degenerated into a human. But it looks like a titan, with a sturdy back and a simple face, and those eyes are like lanterns, shining brightly. This person is none other than the boss of the demon clan, Dong Wangxi. Dong Wangxi has slaughtered countless people over the years, and his strength has already reached the peak of Yuzu's life alchemy realm. No one thought that Dong Wangxi would appear. It's here. The base camp of the demons is thousands of miles away from the imperial city, so I saw them appear here. A few days ago, there were still rumors that Dong Wangxi opened the Tibetan Army Valley, and the Tibetan Army Valley is still far away. It is impossible for this to appear in the capital so soon. At this time, Suzy was taken aback, thinking that there might be a special formation channel in the secret way of the Shao family. Suzy knew that some formation channels could greatly shorten the distance between the two places. Of course, the structure of this formation is actually very complicated, even the royal family may not be able to construct it. At this time, Xu Yuding looked at this demon, and the murderous aura on her body had been released to the extreme. Seeing this conscience-stricken demon, he really wanted to rush over and fight him. Of course, he also knew that he was not their opponent. If he rushed over, he wouldn't even know how 11 died. You are Dong Wangxi. At this time, King Guangnan was a little surprised. This is an existence whose strength has reached the realm of Mingdan. He did not expect to appear here, and at this time he has also realized that there is a possibility that there is a formation channel below. HMPH, if it wasn't for the Shao family's idiots, I would have wiped out you guys long ago. At this time, Dong Wangxi looked at the surrounding subordinates who had been beheaded. Shuangyuan was a little angry, and then sneered. King Guangnan, I really didn't expect you to appear here, but this is not bad. If you kill you today, then the royal family will probably be really devastated. This Guangnan king is a god of war. If he is killed, not only will the royal power be greatly reduced, but the opponent's momentum will also be weakened. At this time, the golden cores on Dongwang's head began to be discovered little by little, but his golden cores were the same color, with a radius of 3 meters, as dazzling as the sun. Do you want to kill me? Well, let's see if you have the ability. King Guangnan did not show weakness either. A big golden core phantom appeared above his head, but it wasn't of color, but of gold. HMPH, King Guangnan is just as capable as you are, and you are indeed capable in front of my younger brothers, but in front of me you are actually just a clown. At this time, he said arrogantly, and then slapped Guangnan Wang with his palm. This palm looked ordinary, but there was indeed a surge of black aura between the palms, and the next moment it turned out that the world turned pale, and there was a whining sound. The king of Guangnan was also taken aback, and quickly released his own defense, but when the black breath hit, there were no landslides and earth-shattering explosions, but bursts of shattering sounds were heard continuously. The next moment, King Guangnan spat out a mouthful of blood, the defense was broken in an instant, and the whole person flew out, and the phantom of the golden core on his head became very weak. At this time, Suzy was also very surprised. He really didn't expect this Eastern Emperor to be so powerful. This is indeed his cultivation base that has reached the realm of life, and even his uncle is not his fault. King Guangnan, you have killed many of my people these years, and it should be over today. At this time, he said coldly, and a huge palm in the sky filled with the breath of death was suppressed. The power contained in this was very terrifying. This person is very indifferent, and is full of a feeling of disregarding life. The black breath is continuously condensed, and then the power in the sky begins to condense. King Guangnan's face was very heavy at this time. He urged the golden core again, and the phantom of the golden core above his head once again burst into dazzling light. It's a pity that his realm is still too far behind. When the palm was pressed down, he punched it, but there was no way to penetrate the defense, and he knelt down directly, without spitting out a mouthful of blood. At that moment, his golden core was almost shattered, but at this critical moment, a majestic and domineering voice remembered. East Emperor, do you really think you are invincible? As the voice said just now, a big golden hand stretched out from the clouds, and then it was torn apart with a click. The next moment, His Majesty the Emperor has already floated down from the sky, exuding the domineering aura of the Emperor. There are more than a dozen royal masters behind him. Of course, many powerful forces of the dynasty have already arrived. The commotion caused here just now is really serious. It's too big, so at this time the big guys start to swarm over. At this time, His Majesty the Emperor just appeared in front of Dong Wangxi. He didn't show any aura, but that kind of scholarly arrogance seemed to suppress Dong Wangxi like an invisible force. The two emperors are at war with each other at this moment, and many people feel a little nervous. These two are both at the fate alchemy realm, and this kind of cultivation is actually a terrifying existence. Hey, I really didn't expect you to come in time. If you come later, you will collect his body. At this moment, the expression on Dong Wangxi's face was very gloomy. He didn't seem to have much fear, and the breath of black began to appear around him, and he didn't feel any fear. Obviously, he came here this time with preparation come. HMPH, if my imperial brother dies today, then everyone in your demon clan will die without a burial place. His Majesty the Emperor said lightly. The voice was not loud, but it contained a huge aura of coercion. The conversation between these two people is very dull at the moment, but the people around them are already a little breathless. HMPH, I really want to see how much strength you have now. Don't let me down if I haven't seen you for many years. Dong Wang smiled evilly. The next moment he activated Purple's golden core, and the next moment his body's aura began to burst out continuously. They started fighting immediately after a disagreement. There has been a lot of hatred between the Great Zhou dynasty and the Orc tribe, so they really have nothing to say. At this moment, the enemies are extremely jealous when they meet. Dong Wangxi possessed the blood of the demon god in his body. When he released the power of his golden core, Fang Yuan Baili seemed to be plunged into a blood red at that moment, and the whole space became a hell. At this moment, it seems that even the breath has been broken. Feeling the burst of breath, many people feel a little uneasy. After reaching the realm of Mingdan, the terrifying aura of coercion is really powerful, which is not something ordinary people can bear. And His Majesty the Emperor also activated the golden elixir at this time, and a phantom of a color appeared above his head, emitting countless dazzling rays of light, but this golden elixir was completely different from the Eastern Ring golden elixir. The purple aura of this golden elixir is full of righteousness, which makes people feel more comfortable. In this phantom, there seems to be a majestic aura of the Emperor that is constantly released, and bursts of dragon chants are constantly ringing out, making people frightened. When these two powerhouses meet at this moment, in fact, this moment is destined to be a real battle that is about to start. Destroy the world. At this time, after Dong Wangxi gave a loud shout, he slapped out with a palm, and the next moment, a warrior in armor was condensed, and this warrior charged towards the Emperor. This armored warrior is actually 487 formed by the fusion of many terrifying forces from the evil spirit. His Majesty the Emperor was indeed not flustered. He held his palms, and at that moment a gold thug appeared directly in the empty space, and then grabbed the warrior's body, and then heard a bang explosion, and the warrior was actually killed. The body was directly crushed, and finally the body turned into a little dust and disappeared. That hand just now directly absorbed and refined such violent power. At this time, His Majesty the Emperor released a tyrannical dragon energy, and began to fight frantically with the opponent. Although these dragon auras are not real dragon auras, his is very terrifying, so the coercive and terrifying aura produced will be terrifying. Under this vacuum, Dong Wangxi's aura was suppressed again, and it seemed that he became vulnerable in an instant. At this time, Dong Wangxi's face was very ugly. The tyranny of the demons was due to the power of inheritance and the strength of their blood, so they were very arrogant, and even felt that they could control everything. At this time, Dong Wang Ziaji sneered a few times, and quickly activated the golden core power in his dantian again. Suddenly, there was a loud bang, and a huge blurry phantom appeared behind him, which was at least tens of meters high. Holding a trident in his hand, black air surging. This is the real phantom of the demon god. Many people exclaimed at this time. Su Zi was also shocked in his heart. His phantom is the real horror. The phantom formed by the divine sense on the trident before in this pen is really insignificant. Now that this phantom appears, Suzy even has a feeling, this guy may really be too strong to die. Quote. Suddenly, the demon god let out an old roar, and the trident directly struck Suzy's head. The dragon aura of His Majesty the Emperor was sliced apart little by little like tofu, and disappeared in an instant. This is the real strength, it can even send the air of His Majesty to shatter. Report. 100%. Chapter 147. The Great War. At this time, he felt like the gods in Legendary had descended, and he had the feeling of wanting to level the secular world. When other people watched this scene, they couldn't help but gasp. This was really terrifying, and this shouldn't be in the realm of the list anymore. In fact, at this time, they were so strange that they looked at each other. You must know that this is just a phantom released by the demon god, but it is just a phantom. The power contained in it has already reached such a terrifying level, and the aura of destruction is even more terrifying. His Majesty the Emperor was calm and composed at this time, quickly formed a handprint with both hands, and then a huge phantom also appeared behind him, and this phantom directly broke through the sky. It was a man in the middle wearing a dragon robe. There seemed to be a real dragon lingering on this man's body. The height that broke through the sky exuded a kind of power overlooking the common people. At that moment, everyone around felt that they wanted to kneel down and worship. This is the real nature. The clouds in the sky are constantly changing. Sometimes it is the emperor with thousands of troops, and sometimes it is a fairy dancing. Throughout the Great Zhou dynasty, many people saw this scene and knelt down one after another, shouting that the gods had come. Su Zi was shocked at this time. He knew that this was actually the first emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty. He had obtained the dragon yuju and sword drawing skills of the first emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty, so he had seen his phantom, but Su Zi didn't expect that his father could summon such a strong man. In fact, the first emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty was not famous, but at that time he was indeed more powerful than a sex demon. His strength even reached the terrifying power emperor who can overlook the world. At this time, the emperor phantom suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light shot out from his eyes. Rumbling explosions sounded continuously, and suddenly the phantom of the demon god exploded into pieces. Explosions around him kept ringing out, and a large amount of smoke and dust swept towards Dongwangxi. The explosions kept ringing out, but they didn't reach out. After more than 10 minutes, there was a sudden scream, and Dongwangxi pushed forward a dozen steps. At that moment, the phantom above His Majesty's head dimmed a lot. It was obvious that the 2 sides were fighting each other. Still evenly matched. HMPH, I didn't expect Joe Buffalo, who has been dead for so many years, to be able to release this kind of combat power, but the dog emperor, don't be too arrogant. After a while, I will let your entire Zhou dynasty become all things monsters. At this time, Dongwang let out a roar, and the next moment it turned into a rock bird and roared out. Although Dongwangxi is pretentious, he also knows that the emperor is not a vegetarian, and his combat effectiveness is very sturdy. After flying a long distance, he changed into his original form, and then stepped on the ground. A big hole appeared in the ground, and then a vortex appeared. His body poured into the vortex and disappeared. This was actually one of the entrances. In fact, he knew very well that he had lost this time. He thought he could kill Guangnan King, but he didn't expect to kill Guangnan King after all. Su Zi was very excited in his heart at this time. He really didn't expect this guy to be so tyrannical and terrifying. In fact, according to what His Majesty said, the first emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty did not succeed in practicing Xuanyuan Yulongju, but he had already reached such a terrifying level. If he had reached this level, then he would. It's really very powerful. Will it be invincible in the world? Today's Su Zi is actually full of confidence in martial arts, and feels that he will reach that level sooner or later. Ah, help me. At this moment, someone suddenly exclaimed. Surprised, Su Zi turned around, only to see a man grabbing Su Ruoxue and entering the underground palace as a minister. That's the funeral. Xu Yuding yelled. He had actually seen Zhang Tian before, but he didn't expect this beast to also come and take Su Ruoxue away. Bastard, give me pain. Su Zi was also taken aback at this time. He really didn't expect such an accident to happen. At this time, he didn't think too much. His body Huawei rushed out with a sword light, and 9 weapons appeared around him, making him even faster. Not a lot. Because he had broken through the Bing condensation realm, his power was very fast now, and he had caught up in an instant. In the next moment, he spread his 5 fingers and grabbed them towards the open air. HMPH, it's up to you. Zhang Tian whirled and kicked Su Zi's body. Su Zi was forced by this kick to retreat several steps. Obviously Su Zi is not his opponent. This guy is worthy of being the #1 genius of the demon race. HMPH, you are Su Zi. I hope you will have the guts to come to the Valley of Soldiers in 4 months, so don't be afraid to come when the time comes. After Zhang Tian finished speaking, his body released a ray of light. Dog thief, let Ruoxue go. Su Zi snorted coldly. Hee, do you want to rescue this woman just because of you? Zhang Tian said something very contemptuous. Obviously he didn't pay attention to Su Zi, grabbed Su Ruoxue and ran away again. Su Ruoxue struggled, but there was no way to get up. Su Zi used his power to stop her at this time, but Zhang Tian was so strong that he unexpectedly appeared with a pair of purple wings, then flew into the passage, and finally disappeared completely. Su Zi, you really have this strength, so after 4 months you come to Kangbing Valley and defeat me, and this girl will naturally be returned to you intact. After finishing speaking, the channel was directly destroyed. Everything happened so fast that no one could realize what was going on. The other people were even more shocked at this time. They didn't expect that they would be taken away. This is a great shame. Father, can you still save him? Hey, the space tunnel has been destroyed. It is very difficult to catch up now. His Majesty the Emperor also sighed helplessly. In fact, this kind of passage is very fast. Even His Majesty the Emperor can hardly catch up. Then what shall we do now? Suzy is still very worried. Su Ruoxue has been taken away, and she doesn't know what will happen. Actually, don't worry. Shuiye is the princess of our royal family. He was arrested in order to hold us hostage in the future. The second is also because of the face problem. Today, I lost face, so I want to get back face, but now it shouldn't be so bad. There. His Majesty the Emperor said seriously. Although the demons are very powerful, they all know that in the eastern region, the most powerful one is actually the Emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty. If the demons really dared to kill the princess, then they must suffer the consequences of revenge. If Zanshan really wanted to kill Su Ruoxue, he could have done it just now. At least it was much easier than holding him hostage. So, in fact, these people have always belonged to the kind of very conceited people. They are very self-righteous, but these people are also some people who keep their word. Zhang Tian said that he will return Su Ruoxue to you only after you defeat him. This will definitely not lie to you. At this time, King Guangnan said softly, he could feel that this was to deliberately trap Suzy. Now Suzy's potential is too terrifying. Maybe many people want to destroy Suzy, so that's why they thought of such a place. Maybe Zanshan wanted to make a move just now, and Z was next to Chengnan Wang just now, so it was difficult for him to have a chance to make a move. Suzy was still very uncomfortable at this time. Although Su Ruoxue was not his own sister, he respected and was very kind to him, and now he was taken away. In 4 months, I must improve my strength, and I must rescue everyone in the Valley of Tibetan soldiers. Time passed day by day, time was in a hurry, and half a month passed in a blink of an eye. During this period of time, Suzy has been studying Tianlei. After the previous battles, he can feel the pressure is great, and Zishan is much stronger than himself. However, His Majesty the Emperor seemed to be aware of Suzy's worries. At this time, he sent someone to send a letter to the frontier, telling the demons that as long as they dared to touch Su Ruoxue, then he would not mind the imperial conquest. Killed the entire demon race before opening it. In fact, a few years ago, His Majesty the Emperor had done this kind of thing. At that time, His Majesty the Emperor personally marched, brushing the forest with tens of thousands of lions and killing the opponent directly. If it wasn't for the Tianyu clan and the Maizu, it is estimated that the Mozu would have been wiped out that time. So it is impossible for the demon race not to be afraid. Not long after Zhao Li's they wrote back a letter, saying that no one would embarrass Su Ruoxue, and if Suzy could defeat Zhang Tian in 4 months, they would send Suzy back. This also allowed them to confirm that this was indeed to deal with Suzy, and it seemed that Zhou Zan's strength had already threatened them. This kind of genius appeared in the royal family. If it really grows up, the demons know that they may not have a chance to stand up in the future. In fact, the Kangbing Valley is now related to the illness inside, and it is also related to the connection between the royal family, Su Ruoxue and Su Ruozu's fate. Suzy has fought against Zhang Tian before, and he can actually feel that his strength is terrifying. Maybe the best way to defeat him in 4 months is to use his own strength to master the heavenly thunder art and legendary in the shortest possible time. Use snow god Li Liangliang. He has been studying the heavenly thunder Ju during this time, and now he feels that the Tianlei Ju is indeed not simple. After being activated, he can attach some of his skills with the power of thunder and lightning, which is quite powerful. But what is difficult to cultivate is that if you want to master this skill, you must attract the elite power of the sky thunder into your body, but this is not a lightning strike from the sky. Will he be directly killed by the strike? So he found himself Father Huang wanted to get some methods. Shuaner, you really have the willpower to practice the judgment of Wei Lei. Report. 100%. Chapter 148. Thunder Canyon. His Majesty the Emperor knew that Suzy was so obsessed with Tianlei Ju. He was also a little surprised. This is not very easy to cultivate. It is dangerous to trigger the sky thunder. Suzy is now a genius of the Great Zhou dynasty. If something happens to him, it will be a loss for the entire Great Zhou dynasty. Father, I always feel that any skill has a reason for its existence. I want to try it, and if I want to deal with that guy, I must strengthen my own attack skills. Suzy said firmly that in fact, his greatest confidence is to have the spirit of a real dragon. Well, that's fine. In fact, if you want to activate the power of the thunder now, the method is actually very simple. You only need to wait until the thunder and rain, and stand on the top of the mountain. Secret realm. Here is called Thunder Canyon. Because of the terrain, there are thunders falling all year round. If you go here, maybe you will be able to master the thunder art better. Thunder Canyon. Suzy was a little excited. He didn't expect such a good place in the Great Zhou dynasty. Well, but this Thunder Canyon is very dangerous. In fact, let alone your cultivation base, even if you have reached the Yaksu realm, you dare not enter it easily, or you should wait a little longer. It's okay, I still want to see one. His Majesty the Emperor nodded, then took him away, and soon took them to a mountain forest, and then entered a secret place called Wamian. Shuaner, it's thunder. At this time, Suzy saw that the valley was bare and deadly silent, without any sound, surrounded by some stones, some of which were split from the middle, which should have been split by lightning. Suzy is standing here at this moment. Can he still see lightning falling continuously? My lord, why are you here? 667 At this moment, an old voice thought of it, and Suzy was startled. Only then did he see that a stone-like object turned out to be a person, and he thought that there are indeed many strange people in the royal family. I brought a person here to feel the thunder. His Majesty the Emperor said something. Suzy felt that his father respected this old man very much. It seems that he should have a very high status. Are you letting him die if he enters with this kind of cultivation? The old man took a look at Suzy, and really looked down on Suzy's strength. The old man is the guardian here, so he doesn't know Suzy. He looked at Suzy and thought in his heart that this is really an old birthday star who hanged himself. Old man, I feel a little confident, please allow me. Suzy said politely. The old man was just a little surprised, seeing Suzy's resolute eyes, mature and introverted heart, thinking who is this in his heart, this age seems to have gone through vicissitudes. Although this old man has never met Suzy, he does have a very good eye. He can tell that Suzy does not have the intelligence that this grade should have. Okay, since you're not afraid of death, the old man will let you in. I'm actually curious about how confident you are. The old man still wanted to see how this boy could go in and come out safe and sound. He could see that Suzy was not that impulsive person. Thank you. Suzy cupped his fists, said very politely, and then walked in. When he entered, he felt that the lightning inside seemed to have eyes, quickly approaching his side, and the sound of rumbling explosions continued, and the lightning had already struck him. Suzy wanted to avoid it, but found that the speed of lightning was much faster than he thought. He was covered with a bloodstain almost in an instant, and his teeth were bared. The feeling of thunder and lightning is really uncomfortable. Suzy has a feeling, if it is not protected by the real dragon's energy, maybe it is really unbearable. Boy, why don't you come back? It's not worth killing this thing. The old man reminded softly. His Majesty the Emperor was also a little worried. Seeing that his son was injured just after entering, he was really worried that he would be hacked to death. Facts have proved that this team is not easy, and it is even more difficult to induce Tianlei to enter the body. It's okay, this injury is nothing. Suzy took a deep breath and moved on. The old man was a little moved. This young man is really not simple. And Suzy has already entered the Thunder Canyon at this time, and there are more and more lightning in the sky. This time, 3 generations of lightning shot down instantly. This kind of horror is probably even in the condensed state. But Suzy was circulating the real dragon's energy in his body at this time. Suddenly a vacuum rushed out, opened his mouth and directly swallowed a bolt of lightning. Seeing this scene, the old man was speechless and said, what this little doll is practicing is kung fu. In fact, he really has never seen it before, and he can still devour it. This is too terrifying. Actually, I don't know very well. His Majesty the Emperor said softly. His son had been imprisoned for so many years, and suddenly he rose up. Even he didn't know the secret contained in it, but he knew that Suzy was very powerful anyway. Regarding the dragon-slaying operation, many people actually speculated that Suzy might have practiced Xuanyuan Yulongju. His Majesty the Emperor also asked Suzy, but Suzy didn't explain it clearly to him, and His Majesty the Emperor didn't continue to ask. Knowing that his son will not harm himself. The old man was also surprised for a while, and so was he. He didn't expect this little baby to be so powerful. At this time, he turned around to look at the situation in Thunder Canyon. At this moment, Suzy spat out another mouthful of blood. Although he turned his whole body into his dantian and then practiced the Xuanyuan Yulongju, the lightning that he swallowed just now almost killed him. However, Suzy actually felt that after the fusion of his true dragon chi and Xuanyuan Yulongju, he began to continuously BBDD transform and absorb those thunder and lightning, giving Huawei a steady stream of thunder elements for his own power. Suzy was ecstatic in his heart, at least he knew it was possible, so he sat down cross-legged immediately, and then began to mobilize the power in his body to activate the real dragon aura, and a vortex appeared along with the real dragon aura, and Yerhashye thunderbolts continued falling and then being swallowed continuously. The number of thunder and lightning is increasing, and it is becoming more and more terrifying. In the end, it seems that the thunder and lightning have angered the sky, and it turned out to be densely packed thunder and lightning that bombarded down continuously. Suzy's complexion was very ugly at this time. Although he could swallow it, it didn't mean he was fine. Every pore in his body seemed to be being bombed, which was definitely a torment. He didn't know how long he could last at this speed, and he was a little worried that it would be embarrassing if he was hacked to death. And at this moment, the small sapling in his ring began to correspond with his body, and the energy of the decathamine green entered his body. There was excitement in Suzy's heart. He felt that this force could not only repair his body, but also increase his strength. It seemed that the sapling was indeed not simple. At this moment Suzy felt that his body was not so uncomfortable. And the good news came one after another. At this time, the alchemy furnace in the Dantian also actively began to absorb the participating lightning, and then these lightnings seemed to be able to refine the alchemy furnace. After devouring the trident before, there was nothing custom made for Dan Fuju, but this time he unexpectedly burst out with such a tyrannical force, which surprised Suzy very much. At this time, the pill furnace was directly abolished and then began to devour the lightning outside. At this moment, Thunder Valley's lightning seemed to have found a new target. At that moment, the lightning kept falling. These lightnings were terrifying, as if they could destroy everything. The old man was speechless at this moment. He had never seen this kind of picture before. It was really horrible. Then, is that an alchemy furnace? His Majesty the Emperor was also a little surprised at this time. This cultivation reached the later stage, which would actually trigger Thunder Calamity, but what he saw today may be even more terrifying than Thunder Calamity, but the alchemy furnace can absorb this power to improve. At this moment, many people in the palace saw the lightning, and they were speechless. This is too exaggerated. This guy actually mobilized all the thunder elements here. Suzy was also surprised at this time. Damn it, you rubbish, you dare to refine the fragments of the god, it's really abominable. At this time, a very terrifying roaring sound appeared from the alchemy furnace, and then a phantom rushed out, but was pulled in again. Obviously, the demon god's breath has already sensed what kind of alchemy furnace this is. You know, the trident has the birth year of the demon god, and now this thing can make him so scared. It seems that this alchemy furnace is indeed not simple. But the alchemy furnace ignored him. At this time, the lightning kept falling, and finally the sound gradually disappeared, and there was no sound. Suzy found that the original cracks of the alchemy furnace seemed to have been repaired a lot. Hey, this thing is so powerful. Suzy was excited, and the alchemy furnace quickly returned to Jozan's body. Suzy was also shocked. He really didn't expect this trident to be so terrifying, but no matter how powerful it was, it seemed to be refined. The power of thunder. At this time, above the Thunder Canyon, there was a voice that remembered it, and the next moment those lightning bolts that love you all began to gather, and then formed a man-eating man wearing a gold armor, and a sword in his hand. Spear, that invincible domineering aura is constantly released. The power of the thunder. This is actually the power of the thunder. At this time, many old people exclaimed. This Thunder Canyon is an ancient site. When the first emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty was in power, it was actually a god who set up a formation here. Active sugar. So it was later called Thunder Canyon. His purpose was originally to temper the body and magic weapon for people, but this thing is too domineering, and his strength is too rubbish, so no one came here. His strength is too rubbish, so no one came here. His strength is too